right, guys, welcome back to week 4 of the Huge Sack podcast. Luke and I are going to discuss the games that happened week 4 of the NFL, and we are going to give our opinions and um, our thoughts on each game that happened this last weekend and on Monday and Thursday. Uh, so I guess, Luke, my opinion of the week is that a lot of games didn't go the way I expected them to, and they're to me it feels like a lot of the teams I thought were very good uh, are not performing very good, and a lot of the teams that are not that good are performing better than I thought that they were going to. It seems like everything is starting to kind of narrow in, and kind of seems like there's a very level like playing field here. I a lot of these teams I don't follow religiously. I have no idea who to expect anymore because of the outcomes these last weeks. It seems like anybody can beat anybody right now. So
Yeah, decent amount of upsets, decent amount of close games that probably weren't expected to be close. It, I'm kind of with you. It's the hell's going on.
yeah, I mean it's just not looking like it would if I were to guess what the season looks like for all these teams. Um, so that's kind of what my thoughts are on the week. I guess we could just dive right in if you want to.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right, so first we have Jacksonville and Cincinnati, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals. To me, let me give my opinions real quick. Uh, Trevor Lawrence looked a lot better in this game. I know they lost, and I know they were only playing the Bengals, but to me, he's starting to kind of feel it out a little bit and kind of sink into where he's comfortable. Looked like he was making decisions better on the field. Um, Now he didn't play spectacular or anything, but I definitely felt like there was a kind of a jump in his play as a whole.
Yeah, still a rookie. Definitely did better. This is one of those games that ended up a lot closer than I was going to think. Granted, I don't think the Bengals necessarily deserve their 3-1 record, but I think they should have kind of just rolled over the Jaguars.
Right. Um, Now, if we can discuss the Bengals a little more, Joe Burrow played really, really good. 25 for 32, 350 yards, basically 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I thought he played very good, and I think that that's the difference you give from a second-year quarterback and a first-year quarterback. Um, there's reasons why both these guys are in the league, so it's not like anything surprising me if these young quarterbacks are performing good. But I just feel like it might take these two a little more time to get used to it because even though Joe Burrow had that good of a game, you are playing against an 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars team.
Correct.
Um, as far as running goes, I see a lot more production in rushing yards this week throughout the NFL. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
it seems like everybody's kind of starting to figure things out as a whole when it comes to offense play. I don't know. Is anything standing out to you, Luke, about this?
No, I mean, overall clean game, 8 penalties in total, 1 sack per team, no turnovers. Uh, Bengals held the ball about 3 minutes longer.
Mm-hmm.
It was a close game in a game that probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
But
And I think that this is me explain. That's what I meant by narrowing. Even though I just don't know where to put these teams. I don't know how anybody's making power rankings right now. It's so hard with how people are playing. The teams that should be good are not playing to that.
mm-hmm.
So, um, I guess one thing we can say is that Jacksonville had a great first half. phenomenal first half for them. So you got to feel good about that if you're a Jags fan. But Cincinnati obviously came back and they won the game by 3. It didn't seem like anything crazy. It wasn't like they needed 14 points with 2 minutes left in the fourth. But
yep, I did see that the Cincinnati kicker did actually miss one of his 2 field goals, so maybe it should have been a 6-point instead of a 3-point game. But
what are you going to do? I mean, both teams are below the middle of the pack in my eyes. So,
yep.
Good for the Bengals on this one. I guess that's kind of all I have to say. It looked like the Jags did really good rushing, and that might just be 1 or 2 breakout runs. But I would say that I'm pretty done talking about this one. There was nothing special about it.
Yep, I'm with you. But still don't really expect much from either of these teams.
Yep. So the Cincinnati Bengals won this one 24-21 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now 0-4, and Cincinnati is 3-1. I believe this is their best start for a good while.
Sounds about right to me. It's been quite a while for the Bengals.
So
pretty on par for the Jags.
Yep. All right. So our next game is the Titans and the Jets. Now I am mind blown by this one.
As am I.
I cannot. Go ahead.
I actually picked up the Titans defense in fantasy football this year because the Jets are 0-3. They're doing just terrible. And that turned out to be a bad decision because holy crap. The Jets actually did something.
Yep. And I guess from what I see on this game is that the Jets had an incredible first half. Everything seemed to be going their way. Titans were kind of struggling in that. And I don't know. Then the Titans started coming back, and it went into overtime. Yeah, this one went into overtime. So the thing with the overtime for me was that the Jets took so much time off the clock in overtime because Tennessee would have scored a touchdown. They would have. They would have won by 3 at the end, but they just didn't have the time for it.
Mm-hmm. The Jets ended up playing really well. I mean, if you look at the overall stats, Tennessee is winning in most of the aspects of, Tennessee has Derrick Henry, and it is going to be very hard for any team, whether the Titans win or lose, to outrush Derrick Henry. And I guess actually kind of what I'm seeing now that I'm looking at it a little closer is that seems to be the only thing that was going right for the Titans.
Yeah, and back to what you said, I would say that the only other team in the NFL that could compete with them in rushing is the Ravens right now. And that's pulling off of your quarterback. So it's kind of surprising to me that the Jets, it seems like the Jets just got gifted this. Like there were so many things that I'm seeing off this that should have went Tennessee's way, and they just couldn't do it.
I mean, I really don't have much to say about this other than I'm surprised the Jets played very well in overtime. I think what teams need to remember is that, yes, like the Jets were 0-3, but they are still an NFL team. You can't overlook anybody, and I feel like that's kind of what the Titans did.
Absolutely, and that's where I'm at with the whole narrowing thing again. I'm going to come back to that almost every game because it just seems like, to me, everybody's got this list in order of what teams they think should be the top, and or And none of that matters right now because there's teams like Tennessee that should be like if you would say that the if you would have told me that the Tennessee Titans would be 2-2 right now, and I looked at their schedule, there's no chance. They are 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at too. I agree with you. I think that these games are starting to tighten up a little bit, and I think we're gonna see a couple diamonds in the rough here with when it comes to like good teams. You're gonna see less teams performing as good as they did through the first 3 weeks. For example, the Broncos. The Broncos played pretty rough, and they were 0-3, or sorry, 3-0. So,
Mm-hmm.
anything else on this one?
Nope. On to the next one.
All right. So the Tennessee Titan, or sorry, the new whoops, the New York Jets win this one 27-24 over the Tennessee Titans. Titans fall to 2-2, and New York gets their first win. They are 1-3. So the next game is the Lions and the Bears, and I'll be honest with you, this one kind of surprised me too.
Yeah, I mean, with Jared Goff, he's not Matthew Stafford, but he's still better than like what Justin Fields is. The the Detroit team just could not stop the run apparently, because that is where all of the Bears points are coming from.
Yep.
They had 3 rushing touchdowns,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, good for them. But I do kind of, I feel bad for the Lions. They've been so bad for so many years, and I do feel like this is a game that they could have won.
Yep. And let's back up a second. I think this is like a testament to what everybody's saying about Matthew Stafford and how he's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Jared Goff is a good quarterback. I agree with what you said. I mean, he had a great game, but the tools around him just aren't working, and I think that is something that they need to focus on past their quarterback. They had a great quarterback, and they should have worked on something else instead of trying to get rid of him and pick up a different quarterback. And I don't know. It's tough. I know that that is it Justin Fields.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
He didn't throw a lot, um, but the throws that he did make completions on were very very good throws. And you're starting to see a lot of good stuff out of him as well. Still young, and to my understanding, it seems like is it Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton started the first game for him.
Then he got hurt,
I
right?
see. That's the thing. I don't know if he truly got hurt, or
Well,
I think he did. I think he did have an injury, but I don't. I doubt it was. I don't remember hearing that it was season ending. But the Bears are one of these teams that are trying these younger quarterbacks too, even when they have a veteran that could still play.
now I have an issue with that too, is because I got a notification on my phone earlier today that Andy Dalton is still the Bears' number one QB. I don't think that the Bears fan base wants to see that. I think they want to see Justin Fields.
The Bears fan base wants to see it because Justin Fields is more likely the future than Andy Dalton. But at the same time, I do feel like they have a better chance of winning with Andy Dalton.
I agree with you. Rushing was pretty damn good for the Bears. Nothing else was going good for the Lions. I mean, uh, the Lions turned the ball over 2 times, but nothing too crazy about that. The I guess one thing I have written down here is that the Bears starting drive was a touchdown, and it was a phenomenal starting drive. It was just well constructed, and they did really good. Um, the Lions had a really good drive at the beginning, but they went for it on 4th and 1 in the red zone and didn't convert. And I think that's kind of where you're seeing the. I know that 7 points doesn't get you the win or a tie or anything, but I feel like that right there was a momentum change for them. Um, and I think that they had to discuss a lot in the locker room, and that's what you see with the quarter scores is 14-0 at half. And I think that 4th and 1 that they didn't get, or 4th and 2, or whatever it was that they didn't get, kind of hurt them quite a bit there in the first half, because they could have stayed in the game if they would have had if they would have scored on that drive, even 3. So I don't have too much else to say on this. Do you?
Nope.
All right. So the Chicago Bears win this one 24-14 against the Detroit Lions. The Lions are 0-4. Not shocking, but it's a little sad that they can't get a win. And then the Bears are 2-2 now. On to the next one. All right, so we got the Colts and the Dolphins, and I'll be honest with you, the Colts played like shit in the first quarter. Like terrible. But after the first quarter, I think Wentz started figuring it out. It has only taken him 3 games in 1 quarter to figure it out, but I think he did. He was making plays that you are used to seeing in his first year with the Eagles. I thought he played a really good last 3 quarters, and yeah, that's kind of what I got.
I'm seeing that he spread the ball out pretty well when he's passing. They had a pretty good rusher this week, not Wentz. It looks like he scrambled a few times, which is all right, but it seems like maybe somebody finally told him that you can't go for these runs. You need to start learning how to slide, protect yourself, be the leader of the team, but don't get hurt. So,
Yep.
I mean, that went just offensively, it overall looks pretty good, I think, for Indianapolis.
Yeah. No, and one thing to note. So Indianapolis played a very, very, very good game in the last 3 quarters. But something we can talk about is that Miami played a really good 4th quarter. They knew it seemed like they were finally able to move the ball again in the 4th quarter, and I don't know if that comes down to them being a little like frantic or like know that they need to score or whatever. But their 4th quarter, I mean, they made a good comeback. It just wasn't enough. They were down too much already to come back fully and get it to overtime or win the game.
Yep, I can agree with that. Something I'm noticing in the overall stats, Dolphins were limited to only about 200 yards of offense, where they only had 35 rushing yards.
Yep.
You still have a backup quarterback. You cannot put it on to him to win the game for you through passing.
Yep.
You need to assist and get a run game going.
Yep. I agree with you fully on that. I feel like that just comes down to possession of the ball in that case. The Colts had the ball for almost 40 minutes.
That's true. Dolphins defense needs to pick it up.
Yep, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of situations that could have changed the game, but nothing too stand out to me other than the fact that the Colts get a win. Like I said, it's not that special. You're playing a 1-2 Dolphins team that I don't expect to be that great, but regardless, that's a win on their record. So
Yep,
is that about it for you?
that would be it. Just figure out the run game for the Dolphins, and hopefully Tua comes back for them, because they're gonna stay way down at the bottom half. That's how it's gonna be.
Yep, I agree. So the Indianapolis Colts win this one 27-17 over the Miami Dolphins. Both teams are currently now 1-3. Let's hop into the next game. This is the Browns and the Vikings. Now, I will be the first one to say offense was terrible on both sides. Uh, just very, very defensive game. And honestly, it could have went either way. It really could have went either way. They're fuck. Let's start with the Browns here. Baker Mayfield played average. He threw for less than 50%. But a lot of times with this Cleveland Brown offense, you don't really need that because you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And that's kind of what you saw here. Nick Chubb played very good, 21 carries for 100 yards, and Kareem Hunt was right behind him at 69 yards. What's that?
And a touchdown.
Yep. Um, so, I mean, yeah, but like 155 yards passing from Baker Mayfield and only, 200 yards. There's not a lot of yards to go around. This was a very defense heavy game. And it just happened to be the rushing for the Browns that got them 7 points ahead, if I'm being honest with you. The Vikings didn't play terrible. Kirk Cousins had 200 yards passing, 20 for 38, 1 touchdown. His interception is almost acceptable because they really needed something to get going. They fully rely on momentum, I feel like, and when the other team is kind of like on their back heels a little bit, I feel like that's when Cousin thrives, and I think he was trying to get something going. It was a far pass down the field, and it was picked off. Obviously, you can't make plays like that when you're only down 7, but I don't know. Something clicked in his head, and you could tell that he was just trying to get a big chunk of the field so he could make some progress.
And I don't know if you agree with me or not. I've said it before. Cousins is getting better, but at the same time, he's not a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, where if you need to put the ball in his hands to win the game through passing, I just don't think I've ever seen it.
I think that it can happen and does happen, and you've seen it in the first couple weeks with his 2-minute drive. But I will say most of his 2-minute drives are 20-yard passes. That was a fucking 50-yard pass down the field. And those are the passes that Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers can make. It might come down to receivers. We don't have the quickest receiving trio in the league. But I still, I think Cousins can do it. He just couldn't there with the Browns defense playing the way they were. It's tough to get anything going with that. Your receivers are typical. It would have been nice to see Conklin do a little better. He performed really, really good against Seattle last week, and he just couldn't get much going. Dalvin Cook was slightly injured, but he played through it and still had an okay game, I guess. No, not really. Back up. Running was just terrible. Yeah, it was bad. So the Vikings didn't play that great. I would love to see them somehow pull that off, but they just didn't. Anything standing out to you about the stats? I know you watched the game. Time of possession is probably the biggest one, and the rushing.
Nope. It was kind of like you said, overly mostly defensive game, which honestly are not the most fun to watch.
Yep.
Great for the teams moving forward because defense is more what wins the games instead of just having a touchdown every 3 plays on either side. But
Yeah.
it's
I
just,
will say the goal line defense for the Minnesota Vikings in the first half was very, very good. And actually, their defense in the first half in general played really good. Um, you see 11 points in the second quarter out of Cleveland. One of them was, I mean, it was a touchdown with a 2 point conversion. Because of
there's a penalty.
it was a penalty. We called the timeout without timeouts. And the thing is so, I mean, honestly, they scored their last, what? They scored 11 points in the last, like, couple minutes of the second quarter. It was so defensive and just, I don't know, 0 points in the third, and then they kicked another field goal to make it 14 in the fourth. I just, I don't know. This was kind of a weird game to watch, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say about this.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, so the Cleveland Browns win this one 14-7 over the Minnesota Vikings. Cleveland is now 3-1, and the Vikings drop to 1-3. On to the next game. It looks like Washington versus the Atlanta Falcons. I didn't think that this would end up this way, if I'm being honest with you.
No, I didn't either. I thought the Falcons would pull this one out, but I, after these 4 weeks, I know that I will never attempt to pick up the Falcons defense for fantasy football because it is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, he's a good quarterback. He's throwing over 50%, 283 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
That's kind of what Matt Ryan does. Granted, once again, they don't have much of a rushing game, but Matt Ryan typically that's kind of his style, I guess. That's what the Falcons have been recently. Washington, they did better on passing, I guess. Well over 50%, 3 touchdowns, 290 yards. Had a little bit of a rushing game, or well, definitely more than the Falcons. But this is one of those games that probably would have been pretty fun to watch because it seemed pretty close the whole way, and just not a lot of defense on either side.
Yeah, and actually the Falcons were ahead towards the end there, and Washington came back and won the game. I think that the Falcons need to play a lot better, and I feel like it's, and we were talking about Cordero Patterson earlier in our other podcasts, and we were talking about how they're utilizing him, and that's great and everything, and they continue to do that. He's lead rusher and lead receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But a 2 versus 11 ain't gonna work.
Yep.
You need to, I don't know, pick someone else up or utilize someone, get them in a groove or something, because it is fully a 2 versus 11 out there for most of these games right now that the Falcons are playing.
Yep, I agree with you.
I will say Washington is now 2-2. Do you consider them kind of a middle of the pack team now instead of dead last? Because last year, I'll tell you what, I did not have them very high. They were high 20s and 30s to me.
I honestly don't still. I got to give them one more week before I really consider them as middle of the pack. I still don't think they're making playoffs, but
And
They
that's
might be like lower middle. I just I just don't really trust them.
yep, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. I just thought the question was interesting just because um, they are 2-2 and they have been competing somewhat. So I know that their schedule's been relatively easy, but thought I would ask the question because it is kind of a thing that could come up.
Hmm.
I don't have too much else to say about this unless you got something.
Nope.
All right.
I was surprised at that one.
Yep.
Thought the
Um,
Falcons would win.
and the Washington football team wins this one 34-30 over the Atlanta Falcons. Washington is now 2-2 and the Atlanta Falcons are 1-3. And then our next game is the Texans and the Bills, and this is a fucking shutout, 40-0. That's ridiculous. Texans need to do better. They turned the ball over on the first play and couldn't score.
Something I maybe you know a little bit about. What's going on with Deshaun Watson? Something's going on that they're not. It must have been some
Were you about to
off-field
press?
issue, or no. I actually now I think I do remember. He wants to be traded,
Yeah, and they wouldn't let him
and
out.
he won't. They won't let him out, and he refuses to play for him or something. So this is what they're stuck with,
Yeah,
and
you could have traded. You could have traded. Example, you could have traded him to the Colts and picked up. Oh well, I guess the Colts are AFC, aren't they? Uh, fuck, man. You could have traded to anywhere. You could have traded that anywhere. Everybody, the Vikings. I would have taken him over Kirk.
yeah, he's definitely got more razzle dazzle,
And I feel
more
like a lot of
potential for
teams
big
would have
plays.
considered it, but you got to trade him away. And you could have got Kirk. You could have done more with Kirk than you would with Davis Mills.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm a little frustrated about that. That I agree with you fully. He should be playing in the NFL. I think that the same thing that happened to Kaepernick is kind of happening to him, where everybody's kind of blacklisting him. Um,
Well,
I understand the
Cap-
Kaepernick thing, but it's you get what I'm getting at.
I will just touch on Kaepernick a little bit. These professional athletes, along with um, big name actors and actresses, need to understand that they do not understand the regular people and they need to stay out of politics. As soon as you get political, whether you're right or you're left, I think both sides are going to look at somebody making millions of dollars and just say, you don't know what we're going through, so back off. I think Deshaun Watson's off-field issues are different,
They're different. Yep.
but he's one that I don't. Maybe we could look into at some point, but something is going on that teams are blacklisting him. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe he shouldn't be in the league.
Right.
And
It's
with the
something that I just haven't dove into enough to know for sure.
but like Kaepernick, he was. They're both very good quarterbacks, and things that they are probably bringing on themselves are taking them out of the league, and they need to kind of
Fire stick.
understand that
Just unplug the fire stick.
they're here for our entertainment.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, I would say let's get back to the game actually. So to me, if you go look at the team stats, there's nothing to say about this one. they're all heavily swayed in Buffalo's favor. Buffalo turned the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions and 1 fumble recovery. That's crazy. It was just all Buffalo. I don't have anything else to say about it, to be honest. Their defense played awesome. Buffalo seemed towards the end that they were only gonna, or well, actually in the middle of the game, right there in the second and third quarter, they could only score field goals, but it didn't matter because their defense was stopping them. So I have nothing else to say about this game.
I do believe Buffalo will be a playoff team. I am not positive how far they're going to go, but they're making the playoffs.
All right, so the Buffalo Bills win this one 40-0 against the Houston Texans. The Texans are now 1-3, and the Bills are 3-1. On to the next game. We have the Giants and the Saints. Now this one kind of surprised me too. I guess to me, I'm starting to think that the Saints are not the same without Drew Brees.
Agree completely with that. Jameis Winston is not even close to Drew Brees level.
Right. I see a lot of good things out of Daniel Jones. He played awesome. The Giants all around played really, really good. And they won in overtime by scoring a touchdown. They did have to come back for that. They needed to score in the end of the game there, and they did. And then they held out, and they got the ball right away in overtime and scored a touchdown. I liked that. Jameis Winston played okay. Taysom Hill played good aside from throwing the ball. I don't really have much to say about this either. This is a close game. This was a hard game for both teams. It went into overtime, and New York got the ball right away and scored. Actually did they got the ball and scored a touchdown right away, and it was done. I don't know. Did you watch this game closely or not?
No, I didn't see this one. Something I'm seeing, Saquon Barkley still having issues, not really figuring it out in the actual rushing department where he's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But he was catching passes and did pretty well as a receiving running back.
Yep.
So you still kind of got to work on the rush. I can't stress it enough. I know I keep saying it every week, but if you need to maybe not rush and just throw more screen passes or check down a lot more, if it works, it works. I honestly don't foresee either of these teams doing very much
special
this year.
Yep, I agree with
the
you.
Saints.
I agree with you.
The Saints, you'd assume they'd look better because they're the Saints, but it's like we said, not the same team without Drew Brees.
I agree. I don't have much else to say about this game either. The Giants surprised me. Daniel Jones surprised me, and also I think that we both agreed New Orleans is not the same this year.
Mm-hmm.
So the New York Giants win this one 27-21 over the New Orleans Saints. The Giants are now 1-3, and the Saints are 2-2. And we will be swinging on to the next game. We got the Chiefs and the Eagles, and low key, the Eagles played pretty damn good. They didn't win, but they actually played really good. I was surprised by how well they played. Good, well, correct me. I know you're the guy.
I've heard a couple times you missaid it.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes throws for 5 touchdowns, obviously. That's like not special anymore from him.
Come on, Patrick. We're looking for a 10 touchdown game.
Straight up. Like, that's what you got to do to surprise us now because you've done it all. That Edwards-Hilaire played really good. Tyreek Hill played awesome. Um, Jalen Hurts played really good, and Devontae Smith played really good on the Eagles. It was. I mean, they were both offensively playing very, very good.
Yeah, another non-defensive game.
Yep.
So the Chiefs are definitely going to make it to the playoffs. I don't put my stamp on that now, but the Eagles probably will not. If the Chiefs are letting the Eagles score 30 points, that can be a little concerning for Chiefs fans.
Yeah, and I have a note or another question written down. It's like, are the Chiefs good enough to perform in playoffs all the way to a Super Bowl? I'm starting to see some slip ups on this Kansas City team that I am not used to since the past 2 years, and it's I don't know. As a Chiefs fan, obviously you guys know that you're the best team right now, or whatever you want to say, but they just haven't been looking as great as they did the last 2 years, and I don't know if that's something
unless they can improve their defense. I do not think they make it to the Super Bowl.
Okay, that's fair. And you could see what? You could see the Browns or the Bills. Could get interesting.
Super Bowl, possibly the Bills.
Ravens.
I don't know. Possibly. The thing is with the Browns is they kind of have a lacking of offense. They have their two rushers and Odell Beckham, but Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback. He's still not a great quarterback. He's making good decisions, I guess, but he's not the one that offense has relied on.
Are you seeing anything else in this game you want to comment on, or can we kind of cap this one too?
We're going to cap that one.
So Kansas City Chiefs win this one 42-30 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Chiefs are now 2-2, and the Eagles are 1-3. I will say that the Eagles played a lot better than I thought they were going to. Good for them. It's just that this high-powered offense from the Chiefs scored more points. Looked like the defenses weren't playing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to the next game. It looks like we got the Cowboys and the Panthers, and my oh my, the Cowboys are good this year. This is like a team that I can see making a deep playoff run.
I don't know who said it first, but it's a common saying nowadays. But how about them Cowboys?
Yep, absolutely. I agree with you, 100%, dude. And it's not like the Panthers played poorly. They were playing good. Sam Darnold is playing very good for the Panthers. I think you're just missing one key part for the Panthers, and you could have won this game. And that key part is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, and I don't know how long McCaffrey's going to be out, but
you got to be able to win without him, though. You have to.
You do. You can't rely on a single person.
But now, do we talk about the fact that like they competed without him against a very good Dallas Cowboys team?
Yeah, I guess I can see. I can see that.
I mean, I don't think it's fair to say that the Carolina Panthers are a bad team without Christian McCaffrey. Not at all, because they did play really good without him. It's just you're playing against a really, really good Cowboys team that scored 4 times in the third quarter. 20 points put up in the third quarter. That's real good. Once again, I don't really have too much else to say on this game. Cowboys are really good this year, and no one can take them lightly. That would be a poor decision. And the Panthers are low-key good, too. It's just they're missing a key part that could have got them 4-0. And that's my opinion on that.
Well, and I
They
agree. The Cowboys could easily be 4-0 as well. I I still think that first game there was an offensive pass interference that lost them the game to the Bucks, but it's in the past.
Yep. So the Dallas Cowboys win this one 36-28 over the Carolina Panthers. Both teams are now 3-1. Looks like we're going to swing over to the Seahawks and the 49ers. This was a really good game. The Seahawks really needed to bounce back, and they did. And I think it was a tough one to bounce back on when you're playing against the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy Garoppolo kind of played average, and Trey Lance actually played fucking good. Dude, let's go.
Yes, sir.
And
Is I see? I didn't get to see this game. Did Garoppolo kind of get hurt, or what? What's the deal? Why did Lance come in?
I have no clue, but he played fucking good. 2 touchdowns. He was rushing the ball. He was making pretty good decisions. He threw the ball 18 times, 50%, 9 of 18, 157, 2 touchdowns. His stats are better than Garoppolo's, and he played less time, I would assume. Um,
Yeah, I assume too. I don't know what is going on, but Garoppolo is supposed to be a pretty good quarterback, but it's like you're kind of at risk to losing your job now.
yeah. And actually, if you go look at the team stats, the 49ers played all around better. They put up almost 500 yards to the 250 that the Seahawks put up. And I don't know. I guess the Seahawks were just able to pull it out, and I think that that's really important for that team that was on the verge of going 1-3. You don't see that out of Russell Wilson a whole lot. You don't see him struggling as much as he has been this season. He didn't have a spectacular game, but good enough to get the win, from what I can
Hmm.
see.
The
Is that?
thing is, I think both of these teams are at the very least playoff contenders.
Yep.
So it's good to see that at least in the playoff contention that these teams are they're close together. This is a one score game.
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm seeing that maybe the penalties affected the 49ers a little bit. They had 8 for 78, and that could have came into play. 2 turnovers that absolutely came into play, and I think that that's where it's at. You got to hold on to the ball.
Hmm.
So, anything else to say on this?
Nope. I expect to see both of these teams doing pretty well late season.
Yep. So the Seattle Seahawks win this one 28-21 over the San Francisco 49ers. Both teams are now 2-2. And we can swing over to the Cardinals and the Rams. And actually, I think we both had the Rams winning this one and both picked wrong.
I am actually pretty surprised.
Yeah.
The Rams were able to beat the Buccaneers the week before, former Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady. The Rams seemed like they were going to maybe kind of roll through everybody. And Arizona, granted they were 3-0 before this week, they didn't necessarily feel like a unbeaten team. But I I was surprised. The Cardinals maybe they seem like they have a pretty good shot to going pretty far. It's definitely spreading the ball out by Kyler Murray. Uh, Good rushing game. It this was a all around team effort.
Yeah.
Pretty good defense to only allowing the Rams 20 points, which it can be a little high, but against a high powered offense like the Rams, only 20 points is that's a pretty good feat.
Yeah. And to me, it seemed like, the Rams were a little bit off. They kind of had an off game. Um, and Arizona finally started to look like the team that everybody thought they were going to be after last season. Arizona is fucking good, and I have them winning the Super Bowl this year, or making it to the Super Bowl this year. I do. And I made that prediction a long time ago to Lance, and he didn't believe me, but I think that Arizona has a lot of potential. Um, and I also thought the Rams had a lot of potential, and I still do. So I agree with you on that. Just kind of felt like Arizona was falling into form, and the Rams kind of took an off weekend.
Yeah, maybe they kind of thought like how we predicted that Arizona shouldn't really be 3-0. They're not all that great, and maybe they got overlooked a little bit. But I think a 4-0 Cardinals team, that people need to definitely not overlook that.
Yep, I
They
agree.
are they're the only undefeated team in the league right now, so they should be the team to be feared.
Yep, I agree. 100%. Are you done with this one? Because I am. This was
Sure.
a very eye-opening game for me. But also, I do think that the Rams just played poorly in this game, and they'll bounce back next week. So the Arizona Cardinals win this one 37-20 over the Los Angeles Rams. Arizona continues to be undefeated 4-0, and the Rams drop to 3-1. Our next game is the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Go ahead.
Um, I'll start with the Steelers. Just Big Ben should. I think he should have retired last year. I've said it before, because this if this is his last season, which it should have been the season before, this is kind of going to leave a sour taste in his mouth. I think he's not performing like he once has. The team overall, Steelers have been a team known for defense, and their defense isn't doing great. It's I Overall, I'm really not seeing anything too impressive with them. Deontay Johnson is their top receiver right now. It seems 90 yards and a touchdown. It's good, but it's one person basically doing well for their team. Uh, Packers, they have about 130 yards, 130 yards of rushing. Kind of low, but for a Packers team that hasn't had running backs in a long time, that's pretty good for the Packers.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of nice to see that they re-picked up Randall Cobb. Used to be one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets, and they haven't really connected the first 3 weeks, but now they connected twice this week for 2 touchdowns. Well, 5 receptions, but got 2 touchdowns for him. And I mean, the Packers defense has always been a struggle. They still need to work on it. The Steelers are not a team that should even be scoring 17 points against their opponents at this point.
Yep.
So it's good game by the Packers, good ball control. Only 3 penalties by the Packers, and I really like that from them.
Yeah. No, they played good. The Packers are also very, very high up on playoff contention, and probably will be taking the NFC North. So they're nothing to worry about there. I would say that home field advantage might be tough for you to get for playoffs, but I think that the Packers will have a good chance of making home field for the first 2 games at least.
I agree. I think they're going to win it all.
All right, big predictions out of Lukey.
Granted, I think that every year.
Hell yeah, dude. Are you good with me capping that off? You said everything I needed to say, and you know more about them than I do. So, all right. So the Green Bay Packers win this one.
Hold on. Both the Vikings and the Packers were on CBS this week, and that was weird.
Hmm.
Didn't like it.
Yeah, go back to Fox. Fuck that shit.
All right. I'm
You're
done.
good.
Get off my soapbox.
All right, so the Green Bay Packers won this one 27-17 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now 1-3, and Green Bay advances to 3-1. Now we are going to go over to the Ravens and the Broncos, and I'm going to go quick through these last three games, okay? So the Ravens, first of all, let's start with the Broncos. I thought Teddy Bridgewater wasn't playing. I got a notification on my fantasy, and he is on my fantasy, that he was inactive for this game. Then I turn on my phone and check my fantasy, and he's putting points up. And I'm like, why the hell is he playing? They told me that he wasn't going to play. So to me, it seems like maybe a little bit of this loss goes to the fact that they were preparing with a second-string quarterback, not expecting Teddy to play. And then at the last minute, they threw him in, and he's playing now.
Well, and see, I guess I don't have them, so I don't get these alerts. I don't, is it, did he have some type of injury or illness that he was like, yeah, maybe I can get over it, but then partway through the game is like, no, I can't. So that, yeah, it probably poor preparation,
Yep.
like you're saying.
And then past that, Baltimore just played better. They currently have the tied record for the most 100-yard games rushing in a row. And they just tied. It's a 43-game streak from the 70s, like 75 to 77 or something like that. That they just tied this record. There was some bullshit at the end of the game that they were okay. So last play, they could have knelt the ball and they wanted this record. So Lamar rushes for 5 yards and gets to 102 on the day.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that the Broncos don't like. There's a lot of people upset about the fact that they rushed the ball for that because they believe that they should have stopped that streak.
Well, that's.
You should have stopped him with that 5-yard rush.
I think there were definitely other points the Broncos could have stopped them.
Yep, and all around the Ravens just played better. Teddy couldn't get too much going for him. He didn't play terrible, but he didn't play like spectacular. He 12 for 21, or sorry, never mind. Teddy went out. Teddy played like shit. He had a touchdown, and he threw for less than 50%. They were playing with Drew Lock as well, who didn't play bad, but he did have an interception. Broncos just didn't look that great, and obviously Lamar Jackson looks awesome because he's going to. It's kind of interesting to see him not being the leading rusher. He only rushed for 28, and he had Latavius Murray.
That is pretty new for him.
Yep.
Usually he is the top rusher on that team.
Yep, absolutely. So he probably got pretty excited about that. I would be excited about that you don't have to literally put the entire team on your back.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have too much to say about this game past that. It just looked like the Ravens were just a little more well-rounded and prepared for this game than the Broncos.
Yeah, I didn't think I don't remember the Broncos' former opponents too well, but I don't think anyone that they played was on caliber with the Ravens. So I kind of had a feeling that the Ravens were going to take it.
Yeah. So the Ravens win this one 23-7 over the Denver Broncos. Both teams are now 3-1. We got 2 more games left. Let's pound these out, Luke. Buccaneers and the Patriots. This was a slow as fuck game for Sunday night. I expected the Bucs to come out and just roll through the Patriots, if I'm being honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady kind of played poorly. No touchdowns for 269 yards. And then, I don't know. Mac Jones played okay. I will say the Patriots have -1 rushing yards total.
Impressive.
Yeah, that's more impressive than putting up like 300 yards. So I don't know what the fuck is happening there with their rushing, but it is not okay. Um, they only tried running the ball 8 times.
I see that.
What the fuck, dude? I can't actually believe that. That's ridiculous. The Bucks played good, but they couldn't convert apparently.
Well, and see, I think I did catch towards the end of this game where the Patriots could have won. I think it was one of the last second field goals by the Patriots, which was missed.
Yep, and
Which
that's
is unfortunate. It was a decent. It was a 50. I think it was like a 56-yard field goal.
okay.
Plus, they did have quite a bit of weather up in New England.
Yep.
So it's hard to necessarily put blame on the kicker for missing.
Yeah,
'Cause
I think
usually you can't see the rain too well, but you could clearly see the rain even on the TV.
yeah,
It
and
was
I
coming
think
down pretty good.
so. Basically, I'm gonna cap this off right away. I'm ending this one because it was a slow game. There's not a lot to talk about when it comes to stats, other than the fact that there was negative rushing yards from the Patriots.
Yep.
And I'm gonna cap it off. What's that?
Congrats to Tom Brady as being one of only like 3 quarterbacks now to
Beat
every team in the NFL.
Yep, absolutely. Let's let's just discuss for a second the Patriots. Can we discuss the fact that this absolutely was the best game of their season so far?
Yeah, I
They
agree with you.
So maybe a little fire under their ass because Tom Brady was coming back. Gave him that. I will say the fans gave him a lot of love when he came back. And you better, if you're giving him, how many Super Bowls did he give him? 6?
Mm-hmm.
5?
Yep.
5 or 6. You better fucking be thankful to that guy. Especially after last season, understanding that it's not Belichick, it's Brady.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else to say on this? Luke? Shit.
No.
Oh, wait. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I could see myself
Yeah.
like lighting up, but you kind of froze for me for a second.
Yep, I froze. So I just said, is there anything else you want to say?
Nope, I'm good with that one.
All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers win this one 19-17 over the New England Patriots. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-1, and the New England Patriots are now 1-3. And then we have the Raiders and the Chargers. This one surprised me. I had the Raiders winning this one. Did I?
I believe I did too.
We both have it. No, I did Chargers. I had the Chargers winning this one. I was surprised though. I think I was just making a weird stab in the dark there.
I think you were trying to choose different from me because you're trying to catch up.
Yep, I'm down 2 games. Raiders played like shit. Derek.
Derek Carr is currently the passing leader in the NFL. Not a good game for him.
I agree.
I think Justin Herbert played out of his mind, and good for him.
Yeah, I agree. 3 touchdowns, 222 yards, 25 for 38. And I don't know. Seems to me like everything went in the favor of the Chargers, and everything kind of fell apart for the Raiders. I will say penalties up the ass for both teams on this one. 7 for 58 on the Raiders and 7 for 105 on the Chargers. Don't do that.
That needs to be fixed.
Yep. No one even wants to watch that. I don't want to watch a game with a bunch of penalties that are fucking moving the ball around. That's bullshit.
Hmm.
Chargers had a lot more time with the ball, a lot more plays. 2 for 3 on fourth downs. They just played better in my eyes, and it shows by the score. But I don't think that the Raiders are a bad team. I think that they'll still make playoffs or be close to making playoffs, especially with that 7th spot now.
Yep.
But the Chargers just outdid them in this one.
Yeah, I'm getting surprised by the Chargers. I think they will make playoffs as well.
Yeah. So yeah, the Los Angeles Chargers win this one 28-14 against the Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams are now 3-3, and that was our Monday night game. So that is everything for the week. We can do our predictions now, and this week is going to be kind of interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I will make my list here. This is week 5.
This will be week 5, yep.
Week 5. Phil first, and then Luke. Okay, so we got the Rams and the Seahawks, and low key, I'm gonna go with Seahawks.
I'm gonna go Rams.
And then we have the Jets and the Falcons. Let's go with the Jets, dude. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here because the Jets played really good, and the Falcons aren't looking great.
I'm going Falcons.
Patriots and Texans. I'm gonna go Patriots.
I'm with you.
Lions and Vikings. I'm Vikings.
I'm gonna go Vikings this week too.
I already wrote it down because fuck you. Eagles and Panthers. I'm gonna go with.
What are you saying? Fuck you! I voted for the Vikings.
I know, but like you acted like, oh, I'm gonna actually go with the Vikings this week.
If I have to.
Eagles and Panthers. This one's iffy. I'm gonna go Eagles, I think.
I don't know how long Christian McCaffrey's out, but I'm gonna go Panthers.
Okay. Saints and Washington. I think that the Saints are gonna pull this one out. But Washington.
I think I'm gonna go Washington.
There you go.
It seems like I might get screwed over because the Saints are doing well on odd numbered weeks for whatever reason and awful on even. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with Washington this time.
Titans and Jags.
Titans.
Yep, that's what I did. Dolphins Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
Yep.
Packers Bengals. Your Packers are gonna win.
I sure hope so.
Broncos Steelers. I'm going with Denver on this one.
I am also gonna go Broncos on this one if Teddy plays.
Yep. Chicago and Raiders. This is Raiders, I think, as well. And then Browns Chargers. I'm gonna go with the fucking Chargers here.
I was actually gonna go Chargers as well.
The Browns just looked like they had a poor offensive scheme there against the Vikings.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Giants and Cowboys. This one is an easy
Cowboys.
one. 49ers Cardinals. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals.
I will too.
Bills Chiefs. Fuck, man. Diggs has got a chip on his shoulder about this game.
I'm gonna go Chiefs.
I'm gonna do Bills. I think.
I think the Bills played a bad first game that they really should have won. They should be undefeated too. But I feel like the Chiefs are going to be their first kind of like real test.
Yep. And then the Colts and the Ravens. I'm going to go with the Ravens. All right. So that is all of our games for this week. We made our selections. Thank you guys so much. Do you have anything else you want to say on this week, Luke?
No, I don't think so. Kind of surprising, but
yeah,
guess that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah. Do you want to send off the YouTube video? Go ahead and do an outro.
Kind of putting me on the spot here. Let me just check a little bit. All right, fellas, this has been the Huge Sack Podcast with Luke and Phil and Luke. We appreciate you guys watching. Try and tune in next week. We're going to keep talking about it. Maybe we'll do better on our picks this week instead of 50%. See you later.
All right. Hell yeah. Have a good night, guys. Have a good day, whatever.